This is the second part of the WordPress 4 installation video tutorial. Alright, so all of my WordPress 4 files have now been transferred, they have been uploaded to my server, and in the meantime what I've did is actually I changed the URL of my webpage just to make it a bit more user friendly, and I can actually exit FileZilla now, and when I go back to my webpage I will come straight to this page here. So this is the beginning of the installation of the WordPress 4. So this is one of the things that you will notice different from previous version of WordPress. This is WordPress 4 beginning of the installation. They've done a lot, like I've said, WordPress has done a lot with the languages, and you can see that straight from the first page, and you can find many different languages here. So you can search down for your particular page, for your particular language, and choose it, for example Turkish, and then continue. Alright, I'll choose United States English, and basically this is what your backend, the language of your backend will be. And if you haven't done any programming with WordPress before, you probably are not familiar with the front end and back end. Basically front end is what the user sees when they type in your URL, and the back end is for the admin people, where all the changes and the customization actually happens. So by choosing a proper language here, you're actually choosing the language for your back end. Alright, so I'll go with the United States English and I hit on continue. Okay, now this will actually give you some of the information that you will need in order to install WordPress onto your webpage, onto your server. You can read all this, and after that just hit on let's go. And this is now the information about the database. Now remember, we created the database before and we have saved all the information, so I'll just copy that information here. So database name, this is the name of my database here. I'll copy and paste it here. Then the username, the password, and localhost, you can leave it as it is, localhost, or you can actually get the host where your database is actually located. So I'll copy that one in there, and for the prefix you can leave it as it is, or you can actually change this. This is for the table. So basically when the table is created just for the WordPress, you will create a table which will start with WP. Now you can change this to anything you like, but I would suggest you leave it as it is, so you know that we're talking about the WordPress here. On all the files that will be created and associated with the table here will have the prefix of WP underscore. Okay, you can find some more information here on the right hand side, and once you fill in all of this, you're ready to submit this. Alright, this will now bring us to the last step, and all we have to do now is hit on run the installation. Alright, then we'll have to enter some information here, so let's call this site WordPress tutorials. My username is going to be WordPress. I'll enter the password here. My email address. Alright, so I've typed in my email address, and the last option here is actually to allow the search engines to index the site. Now I would actually suggest that you leave this unchecked, and the reason being is that you're actually creating a new site now, and you don't want search engines like Google and Yahoo to actually go and index your pages because they're not ready yet. Once you actually finish with the development and design of your web page, you can go and you can actually index your pages. But just to make sure that your pages do not get indexed while they are actually being created, I will leave this unchecked. Alright, and then we'll hit on the install WordPress button here. Alright, so this is basically it. Now my WordPress has actually been installed, and it's been ready to use. This is my username. I will strongly suggest you copy this in your little notepad file as well. So this was my username, and this is my password. Okay. Now this is a good idea because this keeps everything nice and tidy, and you can always find what you're looking for. So now we'll go and hit on login, and this will bring us to this page. This is basically the first login screen, and this is the login screen you're going to use every time you want to log in into the back end of your WordPress, of your website. Okay, I'm gonna hit on remember me, and I'm going to log in. Alright, so this is what the WordPress looks like. This is the backend once again, and here you'll find a lot of information. This is from where you as the admin of this page will be working, and those are the options and the menus that we currently have on our WordPress, and this is something I'm going to cover in the future tutorials. So all of the other tutorials that to follow this one will go through all of these menus here, all the options and everything else. We see how we can customize it. We'll see how to download and install different themes first of all, and then how we can customize them. We'll also go into security and a few other features, and like I mentioned before, every time I come to something that's new to WordPress 4, I'll actually go and explain what's the difference and how WordPress has improved that. Okay, so basically, just to recap, in the previous two videos, so this one and the one before this, we have actually seen how to install a WordPress onto your web page. Of course, what we needed to do first, after we have actually signed up with the host provider, we actually had to go and to actually create a database. Now, depending on whether or not your host provider, the service, actually adds the user straight away, you will actually have to create a user for that database, or in my case, as you have seen, I did not have to do this as my web provider actually did that on their own. So I created a database with a username, with a user for that database, and then what I did, I downloaded all the files required to actually install the WordPress 4. Then I went to FTP FileZilla. I entered all the FTP information, and I actually uploaded all the files. After uploading all the files, I actually typed in the URL of my website, and from then on I followed all the prompts to actually go ahead and to install WordPress onto my server, onto my page. So basically, like with the previous versions, I think WordPress has done a great job just to make sure that the installation of the WordPress onto your web page is really quite straightforward. There's not a lot of things that you have to do. Basically, you just have to follow steps, and just remember that you have to have a MySQL database. And when you're actually signing up with different host providers, and actually I think nowadays all the service providers will actually have some sort of a MySQL database capability, but make sure that this is something that you do have. And remember that just before I went to download all the files, there were some requirements from your web host provider that you have to check, just to make sure that that particular provider provides all the required solutions that you will need in order to actually go and install WordPress. Okay, so in the video tutorials following this one, first of all, we'll have a quick look of what's available in the backend. So this is once again the backend of your web page of the WordPress 4. We have a look at what's available on the left hand side, what's available in the middle, and we'll go through all of those, as I've said, in the future tutorials. Okay, so this was basically a quick way of how to install WordPress 4 onto your web page, and basically this is the manual way, because you know, dependent on which host provider you're using, some of them might actually have some sort of app within the cPanel that will actually allow you to automatically install the WordPress. but because I'm not sure which service provider you will be using, I actually went ahead and did it manually. So I've installed WordPress 4.0.1, and actually you can see that if you scroll all the way down, just in the right bottom corner, you'll see that this is version 4.0.1. Excellent. So this is how you would install WordPress onto your web page. So we're talking about WordPress 4.